Winback Farm of Delaware is proud to present three new stallions for 2022. Oosh with 3-year-old Colt Pacer of the Year, he's watching with over $1 billion in career earnings. Multiple stakes winners Sports Column with a sizzling 149 and 1 mark, and Yonkers Trot winner Top Flight Angel with nearly $1 million in career earnings. Also, Heston Blue Chip, a proven sire of stakes winners, will now stand at Diamond Creek Farm of Pennsylvania with earnings over $1.7 million. For more information, visit winbackfarm.com.
With over 30 years of experience in wealth planning and a lifetime of involvement in harness racing, Matt Franklin at Wire to Wire Wealth can help you build a financial plan that addresses the unique circumstances of those involved in the horse racing industry. Whether you are investing to build wealth, protect your family, or preserve your assets, Matt at Wire to Wire Wealth will work with you through the wealth planning process from start to finish.
We're catching up with Chris Beaver here at his southern location at Spring Garden Ranch. Chris, you have both of your stables split up between your farm at home and here.
Yeah, I've still got kids in high school, and my wife stays up there during the winter. She gets down here some, but also with help, it's been a little easier to have horses in both places, to have enough people to fill the job.
When talking specifically about 2-year-olds, what do you see are the advantages or disadvantages? You have some down here, you have some at home, so you have a great perspective on which is working best or what is best for the horses.
Right, I train most of my 2-year-olds at home. The ones I train here, they usually cost more and maybe are going to be racing on a big track instead of a small track. I think the advantage at home is they get used to a lot more. They get around tight turns. They're getting over, maybe a surface that isn't as good. What I've got here is, they can learn the speed and the straightaways, and we've got a sand track here that we use a lot and really builds them up.
I think that shows in your sire stakes horse performance in Ohio. You come out and there's horses running and having track with conditions and different things, and yours are just trotting right by them.
Well, yeah, I mean, our goal is to bomb-proof them, so we can put a catch driver up and we don't have to worry too much.
You also believe in trotting hovels. Am I correct that I watched a show about you last year where you said that all of your trotters get those on to start?
No, yeah, I mean, I do use them a lot, not all of them, but, we're talking 75% of my Ohio breds will wear trotting hobbles at 2, and it's mainly because of the tight turns on the half-mile track, and the way they drive in Ohio. I mean, they're off the gate and they're going, so there's no baby in them there.
Yeah, there's no taking a break there. Let's talk about the full brother to my MVP, a $45,000 Lexington purchase, Bright Expectations, a Cantab trotting colt.
Right. Yeah, he's doing pretty good. He's a big, kind of awkward colt, but I think he's going to come to it. When he pays attention, he can go. I've been interested in that breeding for a while, and he fell into my range. That's as much as I paid for anything this year, but I was really happy to pick him up for what I did.
You're known for being the bargain shopper somewhat. You excuse things that some of the other trainers do not. What do you count in your range? What are the things that you're looking for to hit in that sweet spot?
Oh, well, it's always pedigree. And then they pretty much got a pass, on the body and the video, but if they don't have the pedigree, then you're in trouble. Aside from that, I have a few little confirmation things, but I do tend to be a lot less particular than most people.
Let's talk about the $45,000 yearling purchase, also in Lexington, a Swan for All trotting filly, Peekaboo Lady.
Yeah, she's been real. She's been right at it. She has had no problem this year. She's rolling right along. When I was trying to pick out these horses, I was looking a little bit at how they're training, and she's one of them that's training good. But in the past, I found that, horses training good a year ago or bad a year ago, it didn't end up making a whole lot of difference. And when at the end of the year, my two Sire Stakes finalist winners in Ohio were both training terrible this time last year. So she marks, she's a big dual eligible filly. She gets over the ground good, and I'm really happy with how she's training right now.
Being dual eligible, that really gives you some time too, because the stakes are later in Kentucky, correct?
Well, they start early at Oak Grove, I'd seen on the schedule, but they will run later as well. It gives you options for a horse that may be a little slower coming along. But the track there is forgiving. You don't have to rig them up quite as much. They just, it's more on natural ability.
And when you're focusing on racing horses in Indiana and Kentucky, you pretty much, do you stake to other races? Or, there's a lot of money in those areas.
Well, that's what this year I tried to, almost exclusively I bought horses. If they were outside of Ohio, they were dual eligible. I have some Indiana breds, but anything else, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, it's all dual eligible horses. And, I would like to keep them all in the Midwest and not even bother going out east with the 2-year-olds. So.
What do you find are the hardest problems when traveling with 2-year-olds that you have to prepare for?
Oh, the worst thing for me is that I can't be there with them all the time, and a 2-year-old, managing a 2-year-old, to me, it's a battle, they'll go good a few starts, and then you're really working to keep them together, and not having my eyes on them every day, it really bothers me.
Let's talk about a $30,000 yearling purchase, Father Patrick Colt, Long Trail.
Yeah, this one was a little different for me. The pedigree was all right, but to me, it was the nicest individual that I laid eyes on in Kentucky. So I wanted him for that reason, and my dad got involved with him on me. So he's training him through the winter. He likes to train the ones that he owns part of through the winter. This colt's got a lot of quick speed to him, and you could see that in the video. And it's so far he's showing that.
Okay, let's move on to Gabby's Teddy Bear. 4 generations with your family, a triumphant caviar colt. Tell me a little about this homebred.
Yeah, this is a family that my parents, my grandfather had for 40, 50 years ago. And they've had raised all the foals out of this mare, and they've under Gabby's credit card, they've had Gabby's Loose Change, who was made about $200,000 and was second in the Sire Stakes final as a 3-year-old. And then last year we had Gabby's C Note, who ended up winning the Sire Stakes final last year. This filly is training actually better than Gabby's C Note was at this time last year, but we'll see how it develops.
Let's talk about one still at home, Buckeye Hill. You're training up there. Tell me a little bit about this one.
Yeah, I just threw this one in. My horses at home, they're all training pretty similar. It's very hard for me to separate them out at home, but this is out of a family that I've had. It's from a mare named California Love, and she was a sister to Buckeye Boss, who made a lot of money in the Sire Stakes for me. She's a Storm and Norman mare. Was a really good gaited mare, but she didn't have a lot of interest, but did make some money. Bought this one out of the sale last fall, and he's been one at home that's really been doing a nice job.
Let's talk about the Chris Beaver playbook. Every year you're there in the Sire Stakes in Ohio. What are the things that are constants? What begins when you're first breaking them? Let's talk shoeing, gaiting, all those things. What is kind of your formula?
Well, we try to get a lot done, before the weather turns bad at home, because I train at home with most of the 2-year-olds, and then it's just a lot of preparation. I believe in preparation, lots of training miles. We start right in February, going 2 trips with them. One thing that's been really important for me is bringing my 3-year-olds down here at the end. The good ones I keep over and bring them down here. The sand track makes a big difference, and we've got them turned out 24 hours a day down here. I found my 3-year-olds, they just come back a lot better since I brought them down here. I describe it as a working vacation. They come back, they're ready to go, but they're rested.
What about as far as how are you starting shoeing wise? What are you starting with them on, and then how does it progress?
I tend to start them all out like a 5/8 up front. Behind, it kind of depends how they're trotting. On, for a passing gaited horse, I'll shoe a little different than a line gaited horse. A lot of them I have to, I have certain shoes I use to try to clean them up if they're striding good up front, but they're getting into their hind end. I'll make some adjustments, but it seems like they all follow some sort of pattern. We can go with it. So.
Right. Yeah, and enough. You have a lot of triumphant caviars in your roster of this year. Tell me a little bit about the 3-year-olds coming back. Which are the ones that you think we should look hopefully for this next year?
Well, my 3-year-old colts, I would go with the same ones that were good last year. I had the colt that won the Sire Stakes final, the Mighty Hill, and he's not a good gaited horse, but he's a fast little horse, and I expect he'll make a lot of money. I've got Caviar Gold, who is a triumphant, a lazy colt, but he's really good gaited. And then we've got Gabby's Bitcoin, who was probably my fastest 2-year-old last year, but he got injured late in the year. Hopefully he makes it back, and he could be very good if he makes it back. And then as far as the fillies, my best one is probably Gabby's C-Note. She won the Sire Stakes final. And then I've got some nice ones that didn't make a ton last year, but they've got lots of ability.
I was going to say, looking down through your stable roster here, there's a lot of money made, and it's really quite impressive. What do you mentioned that you have to have patience, and that some of them that look bad now end up to be your best. What do you do? Some of the other people are saying, if they're not going to make it, right off, get rid of them. You're obviously not going by that book.
No, and that's one reason I hate to tell anybody too much right now. Like as far as staking, I try to, I go with a certain pattern with almost every horse. And if they're training really well and they have the pedigree, I might go above on my staking. If they're showing me some weakness, some soundness problem, then I stake a little bit below. But I'm not one that's okay, this one needs $7,000 in stakes and this one needs 500. I tend to be pretty steady in how I stake horses, because I found there are so many that we want to think are no good, and if the owners were there watching, they'd say, why are you still going with this horse? But that Mighty Hill, I had 2 months last year I couldn't get him to go forward, and finally we got it together, and he was a very good horse after he made the races. So I guess for me, you just don't know until you go qualify if you really got a good horse or not. So.
Right, you never know till you actually put them behind the gate. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for your time. I appreciate it, and taking time. Best of luck with your 2022 Colts.
Thank you.
With over 30 years of experience in wealth planning and a lifetime of involvement in harness racing, Matt Franklin at Wire to Wire Wealth can help you build a financial plan that addresses the unique circumstances of those involved in the horse racing industry. Whether you are investing to build wealth, protect your family, or preserve your assets, Matt at Wire to Wire Wealth will work with you through the wealth planning process from start to finish.
Winback Farm of Delaware is proud to present 3 new stallions for 2022. Oosh with 3-year-old Colt Pacer of the Year, he's watching with over $1 billion in career earnings. Multiple stakes winners Sports Column with a sizzling 149 at 1 mark, and Yonkers Trot winner Top Flight Angel with nearly $1 million in career earnings. Also, Heston Blue Chip, a proven sire of stakes winners, will now stand at Diamond Creek Farm of Pennsylvania with earnings over $1.7 million. For more information, visit winbackfarm.com.